Caroline in Hammersmith. Good evening, Caroline.
Hello, good evening, Daniel. Thank you for doing this programme. Basically, my elderly mother is looked after by my sister as a full-time carer, but when she went away, we had to get someone in to live in. It worked out quite badly in terms of competence, carelessness, and especially there was a safety issue as well. We made a complaint. We're not satisfied with the reply. Basically...
Caroline, sorry, was the carer from the local authority or from a private agency?
A private agency.
Okay.
So basically, we have every intention of paying, but they have not offered a discount. We're not satisfied with the way that they've responded to the complaint. I don't know if they should have suggested that what we do next, because normally when there's not, you get told, I don't know, go to the Ombudsman, go to something, go to the Quality Care Commission or whatever. They haven't said what to do next. They've just sort of denied everything. So although we're not saying we're not going to pay, we do want to pay, and we haven't mentioned money at this stage. But at what point do we need to pay them? Because, I'm worried about not doing the right thing. It's not a question of refusing to pay altogether.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me,
because
Caroline.
of feeling responsible in case that what happened to my mother might happen to someone else.
Okay, so is your issue that you want to raise a complaint, or is it that you don't want to pay? No,
we did raise a complaint, and they have replied, but it's entirely unsatisfactory.
Right, so what is your question for me?
At what point are we in sort of acting in a wrong way, if you like, by not paying? By not paying, and we want to pay once it's resolved.
And what does resolution look like? I mean, the bad cares happened. So what does resolution look like to you?
Well, for them, instead of denying everything, to admit it, to apologise, and to perhaps offer at least a discount.
Right. So is your question really, although you're slightly embarrassed about saying it in these terms, can I get a discount?
No, it's not my only question. It's my main question really is is holding off the payment until it's resolved. We don't want to get into trouble for not paying as such,
okay.
But it's about holding off the payment, and how long can we do that?
Well, eventually they'll sue you for it. How much money are we talking, Caroline?
I think it's a couple of thousand.
Okay, and what do you think a fair amount to pay is?
Probably just a gesture like £200 or £300 off. It's more about admitting it, and also because of denying it, it worries me that they are...
Right. Here's what's happened, Caroline. You've made a complaint. I'm going to take a silly extreme example. I don't want you to tell me the details of the complaint about the care for your mother.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take a silly extreme example and say that you allege the carer slapped your mother. Okay, I'm sure it's not as bad as that.
No.
Hopefully it's not as bad as that. But I'm taking an extreme example.
She did put her in danger, but not in that way.
What's probably happened here is you've raised this complaint about the carer. The agency has gone to the carer and said, is this true? Mm-hmm. The carer has said no. And the agency has said, okay then. I mean, that's probably what's happened, because the agency isn't a judge. The agency didn't have CCTV there. The agency has...
No, but there's a lot of it. It's very, by sheer logic, it's very obvious, to counteract what they've said.
Okay.
Proof and logic.
All right. So, you are obliged to pay the full fees legally, unless there was negligence which caused injury to your mum, and you're not suggesting that's the case. If there was injury to your mum, there'd be a counterclaim which could be brought to set off and reduce and extinguish the fees. But absent that, you're obliged to pay those fees. There's just no two ways about it.
I don't contest paying the fees. It's just I would have appreciated a gesture because of what they did, and but more than anything, for them to admit, that my mother was actually put in danger.
They're not going to do that. If they've said they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it. And no lawyer, I'm afraid, Caroline, can wave a magic wand and make somebody like that apologise to you. What you can do is report them to the Care Quality Commission. You mentioned the CQC before.
Yes.
Why haven't you done that?
Because my sister has actually done that, but the thing is that we haven't heard back from them yet. And really my question is, which you've answered, which is that obviously we're due to pay the money, and I know I'm not contesting. I don't want to not pay. It's never been a question of that. It's just been a question of how long does the dispute go on with to and fro.
Yeah. Eventually, Caroline, eventually they are going to sue you if you don't pay. Now, maybe you can say to them, I'll pay you $1,700 instead of $2,000 because you said you want $200 or $300 off, and they'll say yes to avoid the hassle of being sued and avoid the hassle of any potential poor publicity that might come from you running this in a defence, even though it's not a legal defence. They don't know that you phoned into LBC and have been told it's not a legal defence. So maybe they'll give you a few hundred off if you get to that stage. But frankly, Caroline, I'd either pay them or I'd make them an offer, but just not paying them isn't going to get you anywhere because they will sue you. These agencies run on tiny, tiny margins. We're talking 1 or 2% margins, and they have shelled out 98% of that £2,000 to the carer in salary. They need that money in because it's money that they are now out of and out of pocket. So they will sue you, Caroline. It's a very common thing for people to refuse to pay carers, and it's very common for caring agencies to sue.